Hey, beautiful. Welcome or welcome back to the Kiya Convos podcast. This is the space for all things self-care, wellness, and empowerment. I'm your host, Kate Anwar, and today we have the gorgeous Katie. Hi.
Hello everyone.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I know you've traveled, so we've had to go virtual, but it's going to be so good. I've been looking forward to this conversation and I can't wait to get into it.
Me too. I'm really excited to chat. All things skincare.
All things skincare, love it. Perfect. So I love to always kick off just asking my guests to introduce themselves and let us know who you are.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Katie. I am an aesthetician and a skincare educator. I've worked in beauty for over 13 years now. I started off in salon, so as a beauty therapist, working with clients doing facials, waxing, massage, the lot. And then I've since worked a lot more with like brands in-house. So my last in-house role was in education for a skincare brand. And then now I'm freelance. So I offer facials in a private skincare suite and then also work with brands on like educational content as well.
Yeah, perfect. So can you just take us back and let us know how you started off, I guess before you were an esthetician, were you always into skincare?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went straight into beauty from high school. So I didn't go to university, which I always feel like is really important to say, because I think, when you're at that age where you're deciding whether to go to uni, it's kind of felt like, oh, you have to go to uni. You're only going to be successful if you go to uni, which I don't agree with personally. So I went to high school, and then straight from high school, I went to college. I studied beauty therapy for 2 years. And in school, I loved art and science. They were like my favorite subjects.
Okay. Yeah.
And so in my mind, beauty is like an amalgamation of the two, because it is very scientific, learning about the skin and the layers of the skin and how it works. And then art in terms of like beauty and making things look great and stuff like that. So it was a nice kind of in between. And I did makeup as well. So that really pulled on like the creative aspect.
Okay, perfect.
So I went straight into college, 2 years in beauty therapy, 1 year in makeup, then worked straight into salon for a number of years before like pivoting to work in-house for brands. And yeah, that's how I began. And I've pretty much been in the industry ever since. A few sort of like career breaks to go traveling and like get some office experience, but yeah.
And were you always interested in beauty, or was it more makeup focused initially and then skincare, or was it always skincare for you?
It was always, so I would say, I'd actually say more makeup when I was a lot younger. When I was studying, I loved, like whilst I was doing my beauty therapy course, I loved like doing makeup tutorials at home. I had all the makeup books. And then it was sort of, as I kind of learned more about the skin and sort of the impact of skincare products and how they can really help people, I just fell in love with that more. And like, there's a lot more obviously like technical, scientific of skincare. But actually, when I was deciding whether to go into beauty therapy, it was either that or I was going to do forensic science.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And my parents, it was the time when they said they were increasing all the uni fees. And it was like $9,000 a year. My parents were like, look, you love like beauty and makeup, and of course we'll support you, but if you decide to go and do forensic science and then you don't end up working in that, then what? So then I decided to do beauty therapy. But yeah, it definitely started off with more makeup when I was studying, but then transgressed into like skincare.
Yeah, sure. What was the process like for you becoming a licensed esthetician in the UK? Because I know there's a lot online, but it's usually based in the US. So that's quite interesting to hear about. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I did it from college. So it was a 2-year course. And it was equivalent to a level 3. And so you have like certain like regulatory bodies. So the ones in colleges are usually like, when you're going in person, they're usually pretty like officiated and stuff like that. Yeah. But you can get like VTCT, that's sort of like a very common one. You can get like the one I did was a BTEC National Diploma. And you want to look at BABTAC now. They're kind of like a regulatory body who makes sure that there's like a certain standard. And so if they're BABTAC approved courses, whether you're doing them online or in person, it's kind of that seal of approval. That's really helpful. You can go onto BABTAC's website and they can give you like recommended schools.
Sure. So
I would definitely suggest that for anyone who's like thinking about it. And then I'm currently doing my level 4 in chemical peels because they've got so popular.
Yeah.
And I found the place that I'm doing it with, Skin Philosophy, I found that through BABTAC.
Sure.
So that's a really good way to just sort of make sure that it's kind of like a verified place that you're doing it from.
Yeah. So when you first got qualified, how did you initially set out in terms of building up a client base and building your profile as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, when I first qualified, I was working in salons, so the clients were the salons.
Okay, sure, yeah.
But now that I'm freelance, I suppose that's more sort of relevant now. What did I do? I created sort of like educational and marketing content for my social media around like what I do, just to get people like really clear in their minds about what it is that I offer. And then when I launched, before I launched, I invited a few people in to have facials so I could get marketing content.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
I
really good.
come in like complimentary, got a lot of like video content so that I could use that to advertise. And then a lot of my sort of clients have come through social media, I'll be honest. Like
Yeah.
I would say pretty much 80%. Just
Okay.
repeatedly posting on social media like my treatments and like my offering, and then reviews that people share. And then some's come from like word of mouth, so recommendations. So those are sort of the main places that I've got clients from, and just keep putting stuff out online. And you're going to have days where you're quieter. Like I started a group for solo aestheticians called the Facial Forum. It's a WhatsApp community, and like there's loads of us in there. And some days you're going to have quiet days, especially when you're sort of just starting out on your own versus working in the salon. But for me, I would say the biggest piece of advice is if you are starting out on your own, get like a place where you can rent ad hoc. So then you're not tied into like have it for a whole week and then just say you don't fulfill that week and then you're paying for a place.
Yeah, definitely. I find it so interesting because there was a point a couple of years ago, I'd already launched Kiya and I was considering like taking a course and because I find it so interesting, especially like just doing the facials. I find it quite relaxing, but then I was like, I can't take on another task. Yeah. I mean, never say never, but right now.
Yeah, you might have your own like Kiya facials.
I mean, facials. Maybe we'll see.
But yeah, no, it's amazing. I love it. I like it. They're so enjoyable to do, and it's just lovely to like see the client afterwards feeling like amazing and just so relaxed.
Yeah. What are some common misconceptions out there about skincare? I know you do a lot of skincare education online. So what have you found to be common misconceptions about
one that is just still especially if I hear beauty therapists say it really grinds my gears, is that this opens your pores, this closes your pores. Pores do not open and close. There's no muscle attached to the pore, so it physically cannot open and close. It's not like a moving part of the body. What things can do is soften what is inside the pore, so it's easier to remove. So that's usually what they mean when they say open the pores. Like steam can soften, if you've got congestion, it can soften it, but not open and close. With sunscreen, I would say a lot of people say like, oh, mineral is better for everybody. Everyone should use mineral, not chemical. For some people, mineral is better. For some, chemical is better. It really just depends on you and your skin. I would say any sunscreen you use, if you use it regularly, is better than nothing. And everything is a chemical, even mineral sunscreens. Literally everything is a chemical.
And just to clarify, I know the truth, but just to clarify, do people with darker skin need to use sunscreen?
Yes, we do. So there was actually a study done, and they found that like whilst melanin-rich skin does offer more protection than sort of like fairer skin tones, because that melanin is helping to protect, it's only equivalent to around like an SPF 13. So it's not, you know, it's not like a big superpower that's going to completely shield you from all UV rays. So it is really important. And whilst, you know, deeper skin tones may not manifest in like showing signs of aging as visibly, you're still getting that sun damage. And also one of the most common concerns, and I'm sure you probably hear this from your customers, is hyperpigmentation.
Yes.
And that is like one of the biggest triggers for hyperpigmentation is the sun. So even if you're not concerned about aging, if you're not concerned about skin damage, I mean, you should be. If you're concerned about hyperpigmentation, you absolutely should be wearing sunscreen every day.
Okay, perfect.
Lecture over.
Definitely. Is there anything else that you found that people maybe struggle with or they get a bit mixed up?
Yeah, I think it's a few things. I think a lot of people say to me, oh, I've got blackheads, loads of blackheads on my nose. And I'll have a look. Some people will, but I'll have a look, and it's actually sebaceous filaments, which isn't so widely well known. So it's like understandable that people would get them confused. But basically, sebaceous filaments are just like the lining of your pores, and some people have larger pores genetically, like just naturally as part of their skin structure. And so those sebaceous filaments can look bigger, and you might think they're blackheads. And a way you can tell is if you have what you think is blackheads over your nose, but they're all very similar in size.
Yeah.
Small dots are kind of like grayish brown, depends on skin tone. They're usually sebaceous filaments. If it's a blackhead, it will be like raised and loads of different sizes, and usually you'll see like quite a dark head. But those often get confused. I would say also like over exfoliation. I think people think they can just exfoliate their worries away.
Every day.
Every day. And absolutely not. I think, you know, there's been brands that have said, oh, you can use this exfoliant twice a day. Nobody needs to.
Twice?
Yeah, nobody needs to exfoliate twice a day, guys, please.
Oh, no.
The skin naturally exfoliates itself. As we get older, that process slows down. But I would say for me, the general rule I recommend is 1 to 3 times a week max.
Yeah.
Depends on the person, the age. As we get older, our skin's natural exfoliation process slows down. But yeah, the misconception of just over exfoliating and overdoing actives, I find the simpler your routine, usually the better your skin ends up being.
Yeah.
And just being really like intentional with what you're using. You don't need to have 3 serums in your morning routine, 3 serums in your evening. And also I find that often there's actives in serums that people don't realize. So they're using an exfoliant, but then their serum's also got an exfoliant. And then there might be a moisturizer that's for like a glow moisturizer, and that's also got an exfoliant. And before you know it, you're using 3 exfoliants in your routine every day.
Yeah, definitely. Back to the sebaceous glands.
Sebaceous filaments, yes.
Sebaceous filaments. Okay, sorry.
It's all good, it's all good.
So if someone experiences that, because I think I have that on my nose, how would you recommend minimizing that?
Yeah.
That's something you can minimize?
You can definitely minimize, but you can't get rid of. And you can, you know, you could go to a facialist and they can extract them. They're literally going to come back in 30 days. It's that you will never get rid of them because they're a natural part of your pores lining. There's a few things. If you have very oily skin, managing that oil control. So niacinamide can be great.
I love niacinamide. Yeah.
Salicylic acid, the exfoliant, can be good for helping to decongest the skin and also sort of get rid of that excess oil, and that's going to help them not get as congested and therefore not be as visible. Retinoids, a retinoid serum can be really helpful. It helps to increase your skin cell turnover. So your skin cell turnover is that process of new skin cells getting to the top layer. And so by doing that, it helps to stop congestion. It helps to refine the skin's appearance. So those would be my top 3 in terms of like the kind of actives.
Yeah.
And also just making sure your skin barrier is supported, hydrated. Because if your skin is dehydrated, it will produce more oil.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you just end up with more congestion, more oil. Things are more visible. So you can refine, but you can't get rid of.
Yeah, sure, definitely. What do you recommend in terms of, I guess, monthly treatments? I know it depends on the skin type and all of that, but what, as a basis, what would you recommend in terms of someone going to someone like yourself and having treatments on a monthly basis?
Yeah, so it depends on your goal, of course, like you said. Microneedling, for example. I mean, I don't do microneedling yet, but microneedling, if you're concerned by texture, microneedling regularly can be really helpful. And, you know, you can get different sort of depths of microneedle tools so that, you know, you can have less downtime. You can have, you know, like a very light superficial peel. So I tend to do more superficial peels in my treatments just because I also do a lot of other sort of modalities like lifting treatments and also like massage. I want it to be relaxing and efficacious. So you can have like a light peel just to maintain. So just say in the past, you've had, I don't know, the perfect peel, something where your skin is shedding and it's quite an invasive. Yeah. You've done that, but then over sort of every 2 months, you just want a bit of maintenance. You can have a superficial peel just to kind of help to maintain your result. So that's how I would look at it. And then, of course, like if you just want moments of self-care and relaxation and reset, then you can have a monthly kind of more relaxing facial that kind of combines some low downtime treatments.
I've never actually had a facial peel before.
Really? Sure, I haven't had the intense one where your whole skin sheds. I haven't.
Oh, okay, sure.
But I was with my friend Adiola last night and she loves them. She has one every year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, just like a reset.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. And then what would you recommend, I guess, between sessions in terms of a esthetician approved skincare routine, daily routine, what would that look like? Or what does yours look like?
Okay, so I'll say like the like basic routine that I recommend to everyone. So a basic skincare routine everyone should have is to cleanse and sunscreen. If I was like you had the very, very basics, bare minimum, cleanser and sunscreen. But you know, a day-to-day routine that's a bit more has a few more steps in that. So it'd be, you know, in the morning cleanse. I would suggest always using an antioxidant serum in the morning. It helps to protect the skin. And then moisturizer, sunscreen, or you can use a sunscreen that's, you know, a bit more of a moisturizing formula, then you don't have to use your moisturizer as well. Kind of depends on your skin type.
Okay, yeah.
That's kind of like a basic routine. And then an evening routine would be, and this is basically what I do. An evening routine would be to cleanse, double cleanse if you're wearing makeup, sunscreen, and then you could use a retinoid. You don't have to use one every day. And then moisturizer. I like to layer in hydrating products, a hydrating essence or a mist, and I use that after cleansing. So it'd be like cleanse, hydrating mist or essence, the serum, whether it's morning or night, depending on which one, and then moisturizer / sunscreen, obviously if it's in the daytime.
Yeah, sure. Can you explain the difference between an essence and a mist?
Yes. I mean, it really is just the format mainly. To be honest. So, you know, you've got the hydrating mist and it's just a mist formula. They tend to, just focus on hydration, whereas an essence is funny because an essence is in theory the same as a toner. It's just the words have kind of been interchangeable. Essence, I think, has come more from like Korea. But you can get essences or toners that are hydrating, so like the milky toners, the milky essences, or you can get something exfoliating. So, you know, like the really popular ones that are available. So you can get an exfoliating toner or essence. Essence I find is usually reserved for the more hydrating formulas, but basically they're just a liquid format that usually hydrates or it might exfoliate, brighten, depending on the formula. But yeah,
Okay.
that answers that. It's made it so complicated when it's really not.
I find it so interesting because I think with the rise of TikTok, we've seen even young kids. So I always bang on about this because my daughter is turning 13. And you just see online these kids with like these 20-step routines. They're using retinols, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like,
No,
and
it's
where,
terrible.
yeah.
It's like social media is a blessing and a curse because there's a lot of education available that people wouldn't have been able to get previously.
Yeah.
Which is good in a way, but then also bad because, you know, there's no guidelines, there's no age limits, right? So you've got, like you said, you know, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 13-year-olds using products that are not for them. Like no 13-year-old needs to be using a retinoid at all or any exfoliants. Like your skin is the best it's going to be when you're like young. You can end up then just causing issues long term because your skin barrier gets sensitive and then you're in this vicious cycle. So it's such a shame, and I can imagine as parents it's hard to monitor, you know, what they're watching and then what they're asking for. And also if you're not informed yourself, you might not realize, when they say I want this cream for Christmas, you know.
Yeah, definitely. What would you recommend in terms of like a teenage routine for parents that their kids are starting to experience issues like acne and all of that?
So I would say if you've got like a teenager who's experiencing the sort of starts of breakouts, which are obviously hormonally influenced with puberty, a very sort of minimal routine would be a salicylic acid cleanser because you're going to reduce that risk because it's a wash-off formula. So you're cleansing with it. So a salicylic acid cleanser and then literally just moisturizer, sunscreen. That would be like a very simple routine, and you've got a little bit of that acid activity with the cleanser. And you can apply it to the skin, leave it on for 60 seconds, and rinse it off. But yeah, I wouldn't start using, you know, really extreme like products like retinoids and stuff at a very young age. As they get a bit older, like maybe, you know, 16, then they could use like a leave-on exfoliant, like a exfoliating toner. But yeah, otherwise just keep into the basics.
Yeah, definitely. What do you recommend as an ideal age to start using retinoids, etc. on the skin?
Retinoids originally were like vitamin A, was created for acne. And so, you know, there are cases where dermatologists will put, you know, people that are 17 on Roaccutane, for example, or tretinoin. But if it's just sort of like a general consumer, I would say from your 20s, mid-20s, because it depends on the reason why you want to use it. So from your mid-20s, your collagen starts to degrade. So that's when your skin starts to, very very starts to age in terms of like the collagen. So if you started using one from your mid-20s, that's going to help. But again, I think if you're happy with where your skin is at, don't feel like you have to just because, I've said mid-20s start, but it can be really helpful. I've seen before and afters from brands that sell retinoids of people that have used them long term, and the difference it makes to the skin is incredible. So with retinoids, it's a long term thing. It's not a quick fix, and your results get better over a long period of time.
Oh no, I feel like I'm too late.
No, you're not. You're never too late. You're never ever too late. Do not worry. And like, you're not. Your skin's amazing, but if you're not visibly showing signs or concerns that you're worried about, you don't feel like you have to use a retinoid. Using a sunscreen is going to really help to prevent a lot of the premature aging that people experience. If that's a concern, it depends on the concern. But retinoids are amazing because they can help with signs of aging, sun damage, hypigmentation, breakouts. So they're just a great all-rounder.
Yeah, I think that's what's made me delay and start, because I heard that once you start, you kind of have to keep going with it. It's not something you can really start and stop, or is that untrue?
You can. For example, I haven't brought a retinoid away with me. I brought so many sunscreens to test, and I just completely forgot to bring my own skincare. I was testing loads of content, and it's nothing bad is going to happen. But it's just more that if you're looking for, just say you're concerned by fine lines and wrinkles. If you're just using a retinoid for a couple of months and then you stop, you're not going to get the results that you're after. You have to continue to use it. But if you're not worried about a particular concern, you don't have to start it. But also, I would say don't start it if you're not planning to
use it,
because then there's no real point. You're not going to get the benefits. You need to use it consistently for 3 to 6 months to begin with to start seeing those results.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So for brands like myself, obviously we use natural organic ingredients, black soap, for example. What's your take on those kinds of products to use in your routine?
I think it's important to listen to your skin. If you are showing if your skin is showing that it's being sensitized from something, regardless of whether it's, natural, organic, whatever, you buy it from, a big brand, whatever it is, then listen to your skin. It's obviously not agreeing with it, but I think I think there's a space for all types of skincare. It really just comes down to the person and the goals that they're trying to achieve. And I think for some people it can be brilliant. For some others, they might get on better with something else. It's so varied. I don't have like a hard and fast rule. I think my main thing that I want people to just understand is just because, and this, your products I'm sure are amazing, but it's just because something says it's natural doesn't mean it's going to be perfect for you.
Yes, yeah.
That's the main thing. But that's with anything, right? It's just knowing your skin at the end of the day.
Yeah. I think that's an important thing to note, because even with my customers, for example, I have some that swear by the black soap. They love it. It clears up their skin, etc. And then I have some that say, oh, it makes my skin quite dry. And I say, if it makes your skin dry, then it doesn't work for you. Yeah. That's okay. And I think because of the hype now with natural, clean, zero chemicals, people are just thinking that they have to stick with something because it's natural or clean. But it's like, it's good to just stick with something that works. I had a workshop a few weeks ago and I said, if you've got a routine that works for you, I'm not here to just sell you my products.
You're my favorite kind of person. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Otherwise, you could just end up in a mess and then you think, oh, that brand's terrible. No, it just didn't work for your skin. You should have stuck with what was working. So, yeah.
No, it's true. But for example, I know you use a lot of shea butter in your products. Shea butter is amazing. It's been used for years and years and years. It's one of those sort of like age-old rituals that have been passed down through generations. Yeah. You'll see like in loads of products, your own products and products by big conglomerates, shea butter is used in a lot of products because it works. It's brilliant for dry skin. It's brilliant for soothing, relieving dryness. People have found it great for eczema-prone skin.
Yeah.
So that's like a classic example of an ingredient that has been used, in Africa for years.
Yeah.
And now you'll see it in a lot of moisturizers. Whether it's organic and whether it's something that's been bought and manufactured, but it is an incredible ingredient. And so we can learn a lot from sort of the nature's ingredients that it gives us.
Yeah, definitely. I have another question about just the skin in general. So how would you explain to someone how to check what skin type they have, whether it's dry, oily, combination?
Yeah. So I think it's important to know that you're genetically born with like a predisposed inclination to a skin type, but it can change, right? Because hormones, environment, you know, I'm somewhere that's hot and humid, so my skin is oilier. If when I'm back home and it's cold, it gets a bit more balanced because my skin is naturally oily. But so I would say look at your skin first thing in the morning, not done anything to it, and then look at it again once you've cleansed in the morning, but do nothing else afterwards. So cleanse, do nothing else, and just give your skin like half an hour and just see how it behaves. Does it start getting really dry, or does it start getting really oily? That can give you an indication. And then also look at how your skin behaves throughout the day and by the end of the day. So, you know, someone that's got an oilier skin, they'll find, you know, they'll have that excess oil. Or if someone's more balanced, I'm a bit more combination. So I get oily on the T-zone, but then my cheeks are pretty much just like balanced and normal. Or balanced. I don't actually like to say normal. Just they don't really have any excess oil or dryness. But then, you know, people that are dry, they might feel that constant tightness. It might look duller in appearance. And typically with people with the dry skin type, their pores are not as visible. They're very small.
Yeah.
When you have an oilier skin type, your pores tend to be a little bit larger. But also it's really important to note the difference between dryness and dehydration. So dehydration can impact all skin types, whether you're oily, dry, doesn't matter. Dehydration is like a condition. It's a state that your skin is in. So you can become undehydrated. Most people nowadays are dehydrated.
Yeah.
So you can be oily and dehydrated, dry and dehydrated. If you're dry, you will definitely be dehydrated because your skin is lacking that oil that is making your skin hold on to the water.
Yeah.
But to kind of make it really clear, dehydration is a lack of water in the skin. Dryness is a lack of oil. That's how you kind of differentiate the two. And so I always say to people, if you're oily, make sure that you're not dehydrated, because as I said earlier, when you're dehydrated, your skin will produce more oil to compensate. And then if you're dry, you're typically going to be dehydrated. So that's by using, you know, hydrating essences, mists, serums, and then moisturizers to lock that all in. So shea butter is amazing for locking in hydration. So you apply your hydrating product, apply that shea butter over the top, and that's going to be really great for someone that's dry.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to, I guess, we are very conscious about treating acne on the face. What about acne? Because that's something I started to experience when I turned 30. I started getting acne on my back, hormonal. So it's just, it's very annoying actually. So I've done a few blog posts about it, but how would you recommend someone treat that if they're experiencing back acne?
Of course. So, I mean, yeah, I get the same breakouts on my back. There's a few things, lifestyle things I also would like recommend. So when you're shampooing and conditioning your hair, making sure you're really rinsing your back.
Okay,
like all that product is just collecting in your back.
Yeah.
But working out, for me, I find workouts like, especially with like tight sports bras and stuff, the sweat. I mean, after a workout, you're going to potentially get a breakout. So I like to use, I don't know if I can say brands on here, so I don't want to.
No, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
I haven't been saying them. So Clinisoothe or Cliniset is really good. It's basically like think of it like a skin sanitizer. It's very gentle. So you'd apply that as soon as you finish your workout or anything that you're doing there where you're getting hot and sweaty. And it just sort of sanitizes the skin. It's really soothing as well. And obviously you go home and shower. Also using like a salicylic acid body spray. So
a body spray.
Yeah, so like Murads do a really good one. Who else do one? And Murate do one that's a bit more affordable. There's loads, but if you search like salicylic acid body spray, BHA body spray, you'll see them come up. I think Nutorium did some, but I don't know if it's US only. But they can be really good. The sprays are great because obviously on your back it's quite hard to reach. I had a client recently and she was experiencing the same, and she started using the Murad body spray on her back, and she found that really helped. Also on your chest, because you're the same sort of sebaceous glands that you have on the face that produce the oil, you have on your back as well, and your chest. So that's why people some people that have acne get breakouts here and here as well as on their face. So those would be like my main recommendations for sure.
Okay, sure. And then I know that I don't know if you offer it. Some people do like facials for the back and
yeah. I mean, I actually don't, and I don't know why I haven't added that onto the menu. I think I'm going to. I have all the stuff and I can do it. So you reminded me that I need to add that onto my treatment list because I mean, the skin is skin on the body, on the face. So you can use all the products that you're using on your face, on your body. It's just hard to do it on yourself. So yeah, go have a back facial is amazing. And, you know, some places have like the LED. So it can be really helpful if you get those really sore spots on the back. Like some people get really deep cystic kind of acne on the back, which is quite difficult to treat. Like things like the LED are really soothing. And, you know, depending on the severity, you might have to see a derm and they might have to put you on Roaccutane or something. It depends.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the LED. That was another question I had, because when I did the workshop, a few ladies asked what my stance was on it. I said, I've done light research. It seems good to me. I've not seen anything negative about it. But can you explain the benefit of using lighting?
So red light therapy is really great for soothing the skin. It's been shown to help with increasing collagen production. It can be great for people that have like those inflammatory skin conditions like eczema. But I think the main thing is, depending on the salon, but broadly speaking, if you go into a salon and have, you know, Dermalux, for example, that's going to be a lot stronger than anything that you would be able to use at home. Just because with any kind of, broadly speaking, with any kind of like tools, devices, the ones that are sold only to salons usually are stronger. And obviously the ones at home, they want to reduce the risk of someone hurting themselves. So they don't, not quickly, I'm speaking broadly because obviously there's loads of devices. But the main thing I would say to anybody who's thinking about getting an LED mask, because they're so popular now, aren't they? They're trending all the time. And I feel like they've kind of been romanticized, you know, people putting, making a matcha and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to use it regularly, there is no point getting it, because with an LED mask, you know, you need to be using them at least 5 times a week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. The only caveat I would say to that is that's more so if you're wanting to see that long-term, like increased collagen production, the brightening, the soothing. But if just say you've had a flare up of, I don't know, you've reacted to a product and your skin's really red, you could use an LED mask in that moment to help to calm the skin.
Yeah.
You could use it more ad hoc. But if you're wanting like long-term benefits from LED, you need to be using it regularly. Most clinics use LED as like a bolt-on alongside a more invasive treatment. So some people might have a microneedling session and then they'll add on LED at the end of the session to help to improve the skin's repair.
Yeah, sure.
But there's no point in investing in an LED mask for home use unless you're going to use it regularly. But it's not like they're bad. It's just you're not going to get the benefits and they're quite expensive. So
how long do you recommend leaving it on? It
depends on the device, but usually it's around 10 minutes at least. Some can vary, some are 5, but I would say the most common sort of time frame is 10 minutes, some are up to 20 minutes. So you need to be willing to do that every day, which I know sounds, 10 minutes every day, what's that? But I mean, I know even for myself, I don't end up doing those things regularly. There's always one thing that has to go when you're juggling most things, right? So yeah.
And what's the risk? Because I always worry about overuse, like someone just really overusing it. And what's the risk with that if someone just left it on for like an hour?
Do you know, I haven't seen any literature to talk about that side of things. It's a really important question because, of course, we give people guidelines, but we don't know.
Yeah.
If they decide to leave it on all day, I'm sure it's probably not the best, but I actually don't know what would happen if you used it for like an hour, because I've never had anyone do that, to be honest. But I would say the only thing I have seen some literature on is with blue light, which is often used for like breakout prone skin. I have seen some literature to say blue light, people with melanin-rich skin need to be more careful with, because there was some concern that it could trigger hypigmentation, but I think there's still like research that needs to be done on that. But it's not like, it's with the LED, I can't foresee it being something like, for example, if you left an acid that you're meant to leave on for 10 minutes, if you left that on for an hour, LED, it's not the same. It's not having the same impact on the skin. So I would say the risk is lower of there being like some sort of long-term damaging effect. If you open your eyes and you're putting LED light over your eyes, which you're not meant to do, that's definitely going to damage your eyesight at least. So
yeah. She said at least. No, that's really helpful. I'm trying to think of like common questions that I've had, but I think you've answered Most of them.
I tell you what, something that I hear all the time, and especially I'm in Barcelona at the moment. I was on the train coming back from the beach yesterday, and this girl was sitting opposite me, and her skin was bright red. Like I just kept looking at it, and I really wanted to say something, but I thought, it's not my place. But she was saying, oh, I like to get a base tan. I like to get a base tan.
Okay.
A base tan is just more damage. Like, oh, I'm going to get a base tan. I'm going to get a base tan before I go on holiday. I'm like, it's just more damage upon damage upon damage. Your skin produces melanin to protect itself, and all you're doing is just continually making it try and protect itself and then damage it in the process. So and I think in terms of like black skin, sort of a comment I get all the time is, my grandma, my granddad, they never wore sunscreen. They never did all of this. And yes, but I think, our lifestyles are very different now. If they lived, depending on where the person is from, just say they lived in Jamaica and they were in the shade a lot or whatever. But, when people go on holiday now, they tend to like to lay in the sun.
Yes, yeah.
Intentionally. So that's one. Also, I think, particularly in like the UK, for example, I was talking to a lady about this before, if we want to get all like philosophical about it, black people our ancestry was in Africa, right? And the climate was very different, and the climate was very different. And so, in the UK, for example, it's a very dry environment. There's not much humidity. So that's why often you'll find, people get really dry skin, more prone to like inflammation. And so the environment that we're in is very different to our ancestors.
Okay, sure. That's a very important thing to note, actually, because I know we do always say we're made for the sun, so why would it affect us? But then we all also feel the difference in the heat in the UK versus when we're on holiday. So that's definitely, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a completely different environment. But I would say, like, when people are saying, my skin is really dry in the UK, but when I go on holiday, my skin is so much better. And there is truth in that, because usually it's in a more humid environment. There's more water in the air, so your skin is better hydrated.
Yeah.
There's truth in that, for sure. But, there's so many variables now. Our grandparents lived a very different life, the ozone layer and global warming and the protection from the sun is nowhere near as what it used to be,
Yeah.
So we're just living in very different times. And then add on to that, we all often use a lot of different skincare products, actives, make our skin more sensitive to the sun. So it's not like a like for like, but often people say, my grandparents didn't, so I don't need to. But were your grandparents using retinoids? Probably not.
Definitely not, no. Just some shea butter and they were good to go.
Exactly. And sometimes less is more. I would say that. A lot of people feel like they need to do the most, but then they end up making their skin worse.
Yeah. Do you have any, like, not horror stories, but what's been a more, I don't know, unusual case that you've experienced? Or have you had any cases like that?
Not since I've gone like freelance myself. No, I haven't had any, horror stories.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I mean, it was a long time ago when I was in salon. I'm trying to think. No, I can't think of any. I'm sure there would have been, when I first left college, it was my first job was working in salon. I was there for a number of years. So there definitely would have been some when I started, but I'm 32 now and I was 19, 18 then. So it's not so good. I think often what I hear of in terms of like in the industry is, you can go and have a treatment, just say you have a chemical peel, but that treatment is not just sort of where it ends. It's also the home care and the aftercare you do at home. It's not to say you have to buy the products that the salon is offering or recommending, because sometimes it just feels like they're just trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
It's just knowing that most of the work that is going to sort of turn the needle in terms of your skin's appearance is stuff that you're going to do at home. And so if you have a chemical peel and then you don't listen to the downtime and you're using all these actives, you're going to ruin your skin. So there's that. But yeah, I can't think of any horror stories. So touch wood, nothing happens.
No, I love that. Oh, can you just share before I change gears?
Yeah, of course.
What's been some highlights for you since you started your career?
Highlights. I went freelance a year ago. So before that, I always worked for somebody. And I would say since going freelance, I've had so many highlights. I think it's really empowering when you're doing it alone and you're working for yourself. Last year one of my first freelance jobs was with Perfectil, the vitamin supplement brand.
Okay,
it was a myth busting campaign with Frankie Bridge from the Saturdays.
Oh wow, okay.
Freelance job I got, and I was like, wow, this is amazing.
That's a great start.
Yeah, and so that was really cool, and it was just busting myths, camera, and they used it online. And then I also worked with a skincare brand. They had a new launch, so I went and did facials on influencers at their event.
Oh, okay.
That was really nice. So I feel like when I first started in the industry, when I was 18, and beauty, I feel like particularly after lockdown really became like a big important aspect of people's routine for self-care. But when I first started in the industry, sort of beauty therapists were kind of looked down on as, you're stupid and you've chosen this because you want something easy. I mean, I couldn't disagree more. But those have definitely been my proud moments, because I think it's sort of shown that you can do so much more than you can work in a salon, which is amazing, but you can also work for yourself. You can work with brands. There's so many opportunities. So those have definitely been like my prouder moments. And then doing things like with like Space & K, which is an amazing like retailer. I remember when I was younger, I would give a left arm to work in store. And now to be able to work with them on videos, like those have been really amazing moments.
Yeah. And what do you have planned, I guess, for the rest of 2025 and going into next year?
So a lot of travel. I mean, I'm here for another 5 weeks. I want to really like do a lot more, especially in like autumn, winter. I find that's when people really like focus on their skin and like facials, because obviously people are on holiday and stuff, festivals. So I really want to like knuckle down with my treatments again in like the autumn, winter, extend my treatment menu. So back facial is coming. I need to write that down.
Love that for us.
So thanks to you guys. To sort of extend my treatment offering. And I would love to have like my own studio space, because at the moment I rent somewhere. So I'd really love to get to a point where I rent somewhere by the hour within a clinic, but I'd love to have like my own sort of multi-purpose studio space where I can like do my facials but also create content.
Amazing.
That's kind of a bit of a goal for me.
Yeah,
as you know, London, I mean, it's expensive.
It really is.
But that's a goal. That's a goal of mine.
I'm sure you'll get there soon, before you know it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Perfect. Changing gears slightly. What does self-care mean to you?
Oh, so I was thinking about this because I thought you might ask me.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to say skincare, because I think, because I do it for my job, it's like, it is a really beautiful like self-care moment. But for me, in terms of like what helps me is movement. So movement for me is so important. Going to the gym, getting out for a walk. If I'm having a bad day, and I'll just force myself to get out, even if it's just for a walk around the block or just around the park, it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Difference to my mood. Sorry, you probably wanted me to say skincare, which it is, but I do it all the time. So I do it all the time. So for me, it's like, it's just part of my job now. Movement, absolutely. It just makes a difference to me.
No, I love to hear what that means to you as an individual. So yeah, definitely. How often do you go to the gym?
So I have Class Pass, which I love, because it means that I can kind of like adapt what I'm doing depending on where I am, and I can even use it here, which is amazing.
Oh wow, okay.
You can use it internationally. So I usually try and go to the gym like 3 times a week, or a gym or like a workout class. I do a lot of spin. I really love spin. And then it depends. But one thing I would say is, particularly as women, our hormonal changes throughout our cycle really impact the ways that we can train. And I think that we beat ourselves up for, the week before our period, when we have like no energy, to try and get in the gym and lift a 20K, whatever weight, when actually you should be adapting your workouts. And that's what I've done more recently. And it makes such a difference, because one, I don't feel that pressure and that disappointment in myself if I've not gone to the gym because, I'm feeling moody and everyone's annoying me and I'm tired. I'll go for a walk instead, or I'll go and do a yoga class instead. So I'm still moving, but I'm adapting it. And that is absolutely fine. Like, it's not a failure to not do your weights or whatever it is that you do every week, because your hormones are different every week of the month.
Yeah, that's a very good thing to know. Definitely.
Ladies, don't put pressure on yourself. Work with your body, not against it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of dialogue about that online as well, about cycle syncing, even in terms of like your routine, your goal setting, your calendar, and all of that. So yeah, definitely important to note.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Difference.
Yeah. Okay, so you've had a really stressful day. You've done loads of facials and everything. You're tired. You get home. What are you doing to relax?
Oh, my favourite. Do you know what? It's my favourite way to spend a Friday. I don't like going out on a Friday because I feel like tired from the week. So my favourite way, if I've had a stressful day, I get home, the bra comes off, the wig comes off, there's definitely things to come off. I take my makeup off. If I've got like makeup on and stuff, I do my skincare routine as soon as I get in or as soon as I finish for the day. Because you know you're tired and you've been sitting on the sofa watching Netflix until 10 p.m. and you just want to get into bed. So that's
not as thorough.
Yeah. So a tip for me is just do your routine before you, like, when you're ending for the day. So I do my skincare routine and then I'll make some good food and I'll just sit and watch Netflix. That's just like.
What are you making?
I have HelloFresh or Gusto. Actually, I moved from HelloFresh. We don't like HelloFresh anymore. Gusto. So I just use whatever recipes that I've picked. Usually it'll be some variation of like a curry or pasta. I'm such a sucker for pasta. I love it. I could. Okay. But it will always be something like protein rich, and I have to have from a young age. I've always been this way because my mum used to make me dinner, and she'd always put vegetables on the side. And if it wasn't a dinner that had like vegetables in it, she'd cut up like cold carrots and cucumber. So I always have to have some kind of like veg on the side. But yeah, and then I'll just chill and veg out. To be honest, on the sofa. Yeah. I love it.
What are you watching at the moment on Netflix?
So I just binged Sirens.
I started it. I've only done like 1.5 episodes.
Yeah, there's only 5.
Enjoy it?
Yeah, it's good. The Last of Us, loving that. I love a bit of like sci-fi. And do you know what? I just finished recently, and it's the first time I'd watched it, Gossip Girl. I never watched it as, you know, everyone used to love.
I've never watched it, but a couple of people have said it on the podcast now. So I'm thinking,
guilty pleasure. It's a good guilty pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
I'm a reality TV show person, so I love either sci-fi or some sort of drama.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. It's been so good speaking with you.
You too. You're welcome. It's been lovely.
Yeah. Before you go, can you share with the audience your mantra for life? Something that you want to leave with them?
Nothing changes if nothing changes. That is like the thing I've always said. You know, if there's something going on, you don't like it, it's making you upset, you're in a space that is impacting you, nothing changes if nothing changes. So either you've got to make the change or whatever is causing that issue. Make the change. And also, a second thing, don't be afraid to do things alone. I came to Barcelona on my own for 6 weeks. I've got people visiting me, but I went to a concert on my own, made a friend, ended up going to the beach with them yesterday or the day before.
Oh,
wow. Don't be afraid to do things on your own, and nothing changes if nothing changes.
Oh, I love those. Very good.
You're welcome.
No, thank you so much. It's been so good, so informative, so many gems. Loved it. Can you please let everyone know where they can find you online for more educational content?
Sure.
Or for a facial?
Yeah, so you can find me at kto.skin on Instagram, and then in my bio I've got all the links for like my facials where you can book, etc.
Yeah, perfect. I'll have everything linked below. Thank you again. It's been so good.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, be sure to like and share with someone who would also benefit, and leave any key takeaways in the comment section below. We'd love to keep the conversation going there. Other than that, take care, stay blessed, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.